Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your Spring 2014 Georgia Tech graduates. Students, please rise for the faculty processional.
Good afternoon and welcome. Because this is, after all, Georgia Tech, we've introduced technology early in the program, providing processional music for our graduates were 3 shimmy robots designed and built here at Georgia Tech. I'd ask that the audience please rise and remain standing as we sing the national anthem, which will be sung by members of the Sympathetic Vibrations.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our
Nice job, guys. Nice job. Thank you. Please be seated. At this point, it's my great pleasure to introduce Miss Francisca Malenki. She's a candidate for the degree of Bachelor's in Business Administration in the Scheller College of Business and a member of the 2014 graduating class who will give the reflection.
I wanted to begin with extending a huge thank you to the family, friends, faculty, and staff who are in attendance today. Without your hard work and support, we wouldn't be sitting here in these caps and gowns. During my time here at Georgia Tech, I've been asked a lot of questions. In the beginning, they were fairly simple. What is the limit of the following function? And write me a code that fills your screens with zeros while simultaneously deleting itself. Yeah, I still don't understand what the professor wanted with that one. But calculus and computer science were relatively easy. These were skills that I could learn, or at the very least, Google when I needed them. The questions that came as I got older were becoming increasingly difficult. What is the limit of your potential? And write me a resume that shows off your skills and personality while simultaneously encouraging companies to interview you. These questions stumped me, which I thought would be tough to do after taking some of my tech classes. Something in your identity switches when you go from really smart student who gets A's, or D's, but who's counting, to potential job candidate, or someone who could have a real impact in the world. It's really intimidating when you think about it. What will be my mark? Where will I work? Will I like my job? Will I make a difference? Who will I be? Who do I even want to be? And suddenly you realize, not everything is solvable with a TI-84. I can't Google these questions and get the answer. But luckily, I went to Georgia Tech, and I had professors and alumni who wanted nothing more than to help me find the answers to these questions. The resources available to Georgia Tech students blew my mind. Ever since my first day, I always felt like whatever my dreams were, or whatever my dreams became, Georgia Tech would help me pave the way. We all accomplished a lot during our time here. Look at everyone sitting around you. Some of us created inventions and ideas that changed the course of history. Some of us are going on to the most elite graduate programs in the country. Some of us are starting amazing careers in corporate America. All of us are getting out. We have something to be extremely proud of today, a degree from the Georgia Institute of Technology. As we all leave here today, I hope you remember your time at Georgia Tech as a great leap forward on your path. And if you ever need a little push in the right direction, your time as a Yellow Jacket doesn't stop today. Thank you, and good luck.
Thank you, Francesca. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Graduates, members of the faculty and staff, distinguished guests, families, and friends, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to the 247th commencement exercises at the Georgia Institute of Technology. Today, we are awarding 2,000 degrees, in addition to the 700 graduate degrees we awarded last evening. As is the case for the success of our institute, success in life is seldom a one-person effort. As we celebrate the successful conclusion of one chapter of your lifelong education, it's important to acknowledge that you've not done it alone. Our Vice President for Government and Community Relations, Dean Sheehan, earlier in his career worked for former Governor Zell Miller, who was known for his folksy wisdom. Zell Miller told Dean one time that if you're walking down a country road and you see a turtle on top of a fence post, you can be sure of one thing: he didn't get there alone. With us today are families, friends, and colleagues whose love and support have helped to make this day possible. For some parents that are here today, this is not your first Georgia Tech graduation ceremony. If you're a Georgia Tech alumni, or if you're a parent of more than one proud Georgia Tech graduate through the years, please stand, wave, and be recognized. In addition, with us today are members of the faculty who have guided and mentored these students, sharing with them their time, their wisdom, and their expertise in order to help each and every one of our students reach his or her fullest potential and achieve this important milestone. Would members of the faculty that are here with us today please stand and be recognized? While I could try to stand here and tell you how much these graduates appreciate everything you've done, I think it would be better if you heard it from them.
I just want to thank my mom and dad for sending me here. Love you both. Thank you.
And shout out to my grandparents for being here and coming all the way from Chicago to see me graduate.
I want to say thank you definitely to my parents, but also to everyone who made my degree possible. First of all, the Scheller College of Business and all the staff and faculty there.
I can't believe the journey's finally coming to an end. I'd just like to give a shout out to my parents, for always supporting me, and definitely my friends, and especially all the ones I've made here at Tech. I'm going to miss you guys very dearly. Go Jackets.
Hey Mom and Dad, thank you so much for letting me come to Georgia Tech, and I really couldn't do any of this without you guys. And I just wanted to hold up this shirt because I know that my mom loves it so much. So I am doing that today. I'm graduating. Thank you so much.
I want to thank my family. They're the reason Georgia Tech is a reality for me.
I especially want to thank my parents, Tom and Diane Sennett, my younger brother, Matthew, and my older sister, Megan.
I just want to give a special shout out to my family and my friends for supporting me for the past 5 years at this school.
Hi, I'd like to thank my mom and dad. Thank you so much for your support over the past 4 years. I couldn't have made it without you, especially during all those times where I thought I wouldn't make it. And also I'm excited to finally be a Georgia Tech alum along with my dad.
Hi Mom, hi Dad. Hello Harith, Sam, Kamal, Hind, Safa. Yay, I'm graduating, and I just want to say biochemistry is the best, and go Jackets!
Congratulations, class of 2014.
Go Jackets!
Congratulations, class of 2014. We did it! Go Jackets!
At this time, I'd like to introduce several members of the stage party and would ask that you hold your applause as I ask them to stand and be recognized. Dr. Susan Cousins, Vice Provost for Graduate Education and Faculty Affairs. Good, good. Dr. Colin Potts, Vice Provost for Undergraduate Education and today's Mace Bearer. Dr. Stephen Cross, Executive Vice President for Research. Dr. William Schaefer, Vice President for Student Affairs. Mr. Dean Sheehan, Vice President for Government and Community Relations. Dean Catherine Murray Rust, representing the library. Assistant Dean Michelle Reinhardt, representing the College of Architecture. Assistant Dean Cedric Stallworth from the College of Computing. Mr. John Stein, our Dean of Students. Patricia Bazrod, representing the Center for Career Discovery and Development. Let's give them a round of applause. This is a momentous day for you as graduates and for your family and friends who are sharing in this celebration of your accomplishments. You've worked very hard to earn your degree from one of the finest institutions in the country, and in some fields, one of the finest in the world. And you will forever be linked to this great institution. You are well positioned for success and can be proud of your alma mater and your accomplishments. We continue to work towards our goal of making a Georgia Tech education within the reach of every qualified Georgia resident, regardless of family income. We are proud to say that included among our graduates today are 25 G. Wayne Clough Tech Promise Program scholars. Through their hard work and Georgia Tech's commitment, not only will their lives be changed, but also the lives of others for generations to come. As I look out on all of you today, I see a group that's prepared for a life of accomplishment and contribution in an ever-changing world. Not because you've learned everything that you will need to know, but because your Georgia Tech education is designed to provide you with a solid foundation on which you can build throughout your lifetime, on which you can continue to learn and continue to grow. It's designed to help you work collaboratively to identify challenges and create solutions, and to be a leader in industry, business, and government, and also in the communities in which you will live, work, learn, and play. You're prepared not only to face the future, but also to design it. You have a wonderful future ahead of you, and all of us are looking forward to great things from each and every one of you. This afternoon, we're pleased to have Mr. Ralph De La Vega, President and CEO of AT&T Mobility, as our commencement speaker. Under his leadership, AT&T Mobility has become one of the world's leading smartphone and mobile internet providers and is expanding into new growth areas such as home security and automation, connected care, and mobile payments. Georgia Tech and AT&T share a common focus on innovation and partner in a number of areas. In fact, Mr. De La Vega was deeply involved in the 2013 opening of the AT&T Foundry just across the connector in Tech Square. The Foundry creates a great opportunity for students and faculty while allowing AT&T to take full advantage of the intellectual resources available here at Tech and to participate in the exciting growth of Midtown as an innovation and entrepreneurial zone. Previously, Mr. De La Vega served as Chief Operating Officer of Singular Wireless, and before joining Singular in 2004, he served as President of Bell South Latin America. Mr. De La Vega serves on the boards of New York Life Insurance Company, the Georgia Aquarium, Morehouse College, and the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce. As a strong believer in community service, he actively supports nonprofit and youth organizations, serving as chairman of All Markets Initiatives for the Boy Scouts of America, and previously as chairman of Junior Achievement Worldwide. In 2013, he was honored with the Boy Scouts' highest commendation, the Silver Buffalo Award, recognizing his distinguished service to youth. He holds a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from Florida Atlantic University and a master's degree in business administration from Northern Illinois. He completed an executive program at the University of Virginia and received an honorary doctorate from Florida Atlantic. He's the author of the best-selling book, Obstacles Welcome, Turn Adversity to Advantage in Business and Life. And a native of Cuba, Mr. De La Vega lives here in Atlanta and has a close association and relationship with Georgia Tech. Please help me welcome Mr. Ralph De La Vega, President and CEO of AT&T Mobility.
Thank you, Dr. Peterson, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really honored to have been asked to give the commencement address for this great class, the 2014 graduating class of the Georgia Institute of Technology, one of the finest universities in the world. I can say that never in a million years would I have imagined, when I was a 10-year-old boy in Cuba, that one day I would address a graduating class of this prestigious institution. Never. Getting here required overcoming incredible adversity in life. I believe that life is a journey. It does not matter where you start in life. It only matters where you end and how you deal with the adversities that you face along the way. In fact, I believe that how we handle adversity defines us. Some of you may have already faced incredible adversity in your lives. If you haven't, you can pretty much plan on facing it at some point in life. So what I want to do today is share advice from my own experience on how you can turn adversity to advantage and create a better future even when faced with what appears to be insurmountable obstacles. Let me tell you a little bit about my story. I was born in Cuba, and after the revolution, my family lived in a state of constant uncertainty and anxiety. The freedom that we had known was gone and was replaced with intimidation and the confiscation of property. Food distribution was taken over by the government, so my father's business was gone. So my parents made the difficult decision to leave the country, guided by that beacon of hope, freedom, and opportunity that is the United States of America. But before they could leave Cuba, they had to agree to leave every material possession behind. The home, our savings, every material possession. As tough as that decision was, an even more difficult decision awaited us as the family was prepared to fly to the U.S. I was 10 years old. You see, when we got to the Havana airport, the militiaman that looked at our papers, our exit papers, said 5 words that changed my life and my family's life forever. And those words were, "Only the boy can go." It turns out that only my papers were correct. My parents had to make an unimaginable choice right there to keep the entire family behind until everyone's papers were correct, or to send me to the U.S. by myself. My father made a few calls to friends in Miami and decided to send me ahead. I thought it would be reunited in a few days, so I got on that airplane alone and said goodbye to my parents. And I would not see them again for 4 years. So I found myself in a new country, with a new family, a new language, new customs, without any money. And heck, at the time, I didn't even like American food. Those early days without my parents were so difficult that everything else since then in my life has been relatively easy. Merging Singular Wireless and AT&T Wireless, which required a $41 billion cash transaction, the largest all-cash merger in U.S. history at the time, I'd say that was relatively easy. Hard is leaving your country, leaving your family, leaving your language, your customs, and starting over. So here's the takeaway for you. When you're facing what appears to be unimaginable adversity, you must remember that you can always start over to achieve your dreams, and that the human spirit is incredibly resilient. Although those early years for me in the U.S. were difficult, there was a bright side to the story. I had landed in the U.S., the land of opportunity, and was received by a great family, the Baez family, who treated me as their own son. I tell people that it has to be a great country when a 10-year-old boy can set foot on its shores without his parents, not knowing the language, not knowing the culture, without any money, to become president and CEO of AT&T Mobility, an organization with 50,000 employees, 110 million customers, and over 70 billion in revenues. It is a great country, and I am proof, like many of you present here today, that the American dream is still very much alive. As I said, getting here was not easy. I almost didn't make it. In fact, I almost didn't become an engineer at all. You see, back in high school, when I told my career counselor that I wanted to become an engineer, he looked at my records, he looked at my family's finances and the situation I was facing, and recommended that I become a mechanic instead. And you know what? I listened to him. I didn't know any better. So I stopped going to regular high school classes and started to take courses to become a mechanic. But then my grandmother, my abuela, arrived from Cuba and asked me how I was doing. My grandmother was a strong Cuban woman. She had been a teacher, a poet, and raised 7 children. And she knew the value of a good education. So when I told her I wanted to become an engineer, but that I was training to be a mechanic instead, I could see her fiery nature come to life. I am not going to translate into English what she told me in Spanish, but it went something like, "What you're doing doesn't make sense, Ralph. You're telling me you want to become an engineer, but you're studying to be a mechanic." Now, there's nothing wrong with being a mechanic. It was just that my dream was to become an engineer, and she spotted the problem right away. And she gave me a bit of advice that I have followed the rest of my life. She said, "Ralph, don't let anyone put limitations on what you can achieve. If you want to be an engineer, you can be an engineer." And you know what? I listened to her, and I did a Control-Alt-Delete on that counselor's advice, and the rest is history. You know, I have followed that advice my entire life, and I share it with my team, and I want to share it with you because it's a great takeaway for you. Don't let anyone put limitations on what you can achieve, not even yourself, and not even when you fail. You see, I believe that failure can lead to opportunity. Let me tell you about a failure that paved the way for one of the biggest successes we've been associated with at AT&T Mobility. It started in 2005, back when AT&T Mobility was Singular Wireless. We had an opportunity at the time to work with Motorola and Apple to bring to market the first wireless phone that came equipped with iTunes Music. We called it the Rocker. You probably never heard of it because there was a failure in the marketplace. But even though that product was a failure, working with Apple on the launch began a solid relationship which made it possible for us to collaborate with Apple and the genius of Steve Jobs on the next big thing, which was the iPhone. Let me provide some context. Until that time, smartphones that had touchscreens required using a stylus for accuracy. I was one of the first people to see the prototype of the iPhone. I noticed it had a full touchscreen, but I did not see a stylus. "Where is the stylus?" I asked. And I'll never forget Steve Jobs' answer. He wiggled his finger and he says, "This is the stylus." The iPhone was revolutionary in a number of ways, and not having a stylus was just one. That meant that for us to collaborate with Apple and bring the iPhone to market, we had to redesign our systems and processes to work with the revolutionary characteristics of the iPhone. In other words, we had to unlearn all we had learned about smartphones and relearn new paradigms. New paradigms such as the fact that smartphones didn't need to have physical keyboards. The fact that touchscreens no longer required a stylus, and that you did not have to play all your voicemails in the order in which they were received, because with visual voicemail, we introduced with the iPhone, it allowed you to skip messages and listen to the ones you wanted to hear. The lesson we learned from that incredible experience, and the takeaway for you, is that you have to learn to unlearn and relearn when what you know is no longer valid. Even with a great body of knowledge that Georgia Tech has given you, the pace of change is such that you must be prepared to unlearn and relearn for the rest of your professional life. You're graduating today from one of the world's top universities. Congratulations. You walk out of here with great skills, superb knowledge, and a very valuable degree. As Georgia Tech graduates, you follow in the footsteps of great researchers, great scientists, innovators, and business leaders. The list of life-changing inventions by Georgia Tech scientists is as long as it is impressive. One of the latest of these inventions is the self-powered graphene nanosensor, and it absolutely awes me. Imagine a nanosensor as small as a grain of sand that can travel through your bloodstream, is self-powered, and is able to detect abnormalities in your body long before you develop symptoms, and then alerts you. So imagine getting an alert on your smartphone from your nanosensor indicating that it has detected the first cancer cell developing in your body. Think of what a difference that technology would make in our lives. As graduates of this great institution, you are uniquely qualified to make a positive mark in our world. But whether it's solving technical challenges, developing the next great innovation, or creating the next great startup, at some point you will face adversity, failure, naysayers, and incredible obstacles. When you do, I want you to remember that inside every difficulty, there's opportunity, that you can't start over and achieve success. You need to remember to unlearn and relearn when what you know is no longer valid. And most of all, never let anyone put limitations on what a Georgia Tech graduate can achieve. I know that you will make a very positive difference in our world, in the Georgia Tech tradition. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ralph. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for being such a great partner with Georgia Tech.
Thank you, Dr. Peters.
Pretty heavy. Ralph has some guests with him here today. They didn't know I was going to do this, but I'd like to ask them to stand. Among those guests are the foster mother he lived with for the first 4 years he was in the United States. Would you stand and be recognized? Where are they? Now, we come to the time you've all been waiting for, the conferring of your degrees. The moment of walking across the stage represents the culmination of much work and achievement for each of our graduates. I would ask that after you receive your diploma, you return to your seat and show your fellow students the same respect that they have given you as you cross the stage. And now it's my pleasure to welcome to the podium Dr. Raphael Bras, Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs and Provost, who will introduce the academic deans by college and then present the candidates for bachelor's degrees.
Good afternoon. Dean Zvi Galil of the College of Computing and a great partner of AT&T in the first online master's degree in computer science will present the undergraduate candidates for the degrees in the College of Computing.
Candidates for the Bachelor of Science degree of the College of Computing, please rise and remain standing. Mr. President, I have the honor in presenting to you those candidates of the Bachelor of Science degree, including all the hackers, geeks, and nerds who have completed the requirement for this degree.
College of Computing, Bachelor of Science in Computational Media, Jonathan Betancourt. Evan Schubert Compton. Samuel Vance Eller. William Garrison Folsom. Matthew James Gusdile. Rebecca Jean Ham. Alyssa Jill Hartenbaum. Amelia Jane Lambeth. Elise Livingston. Curtis Lucky Jr. Chelsea Nicole Mitchell. Michelle Purnama Devi Partogi. Griva Nalin Patel. Harrison Grant Saylor. Crystal Sankompong. Andrew Michael Silva. Troy West. Alexander Dennis Williams. Mallory Rebecca Wynn. Lisa Xianya Xia.
It is my pleasure to now introduce Dean Jacqueline Jones Royster, who will present the undergraduate candidates for the degrees at the wonderful Ivan Allen College of Liberal Arts.
And wonderful it is. Candidates for the Bachelor of Science degree in the Ivan Allen College of Liberal Arts, would you please stand and remain standing? Mr. President, I have the honor of presenting to you those candidates for the Bachelor of Science degree who have completed the requirements for this degree.
From the Ivan Allen College, Bachelor of Science in Computational Media, Annette Jocelyn Almonte Malagon. Alvina Elizabeth Atmatia. Caroline Jenkins Cash. Andrew Stephen Chanrasmi. Isabel Fung Young. James Ingram Godfrey Kittle. Alyssa Ruth Consaitis. Hung Kwok Lak. Casey Lynn Mann. Andrew Lloyd Schneider. Vaseth Sueksagan. Russell Allen Zaring Jr. Bachelor of Science in Applied Linguistics and Intercultural Studies, Birs Hübner. Denisa Roxana Banca. Bachelor of Science in Public Policy, Roma Amit Amin. Paige Elise Clayton. Derek Randall Jett. Timothy Drew Lynn. Kayla Janelle McKenzie. Aaron Bennett Morgan. John James O'Brien. Sean Devereaux Poole. Joseph Thomas Santoro. Amanda Dorothy Scott, also receiving Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. Mary Carolyn Shoemaker. Brandon Mitchell Williams. James Daniel Woodson. Bachelor of Science in History, Technology, and Society, Sarah Elizabeth Adams, Rainey Leigh Baskowitz, Jasmine Jamela Blaine, Lauren Marie Burtz, Victoria Lynn Butler, Alexa Ray Corbett, Megan Elizabeth Dombra, Frida Carolina Vogtemark, Jenna Elizabeth Hollenkamp, Patrick Michael Marcacci, Clayton Corey McLean, Kaylee McCraney, Natalie J. Otterson, Alessandra Teresa Palazzolo, Joyce Danielle Sharp, Dante Demetrius Sanders, Bachelor of Science in Science, Technology, and Culture, Rachel Christine Brown, Emily Rose Davidson, Caroline Beth Four, Caroline Elizabeth Gwynn, Sydney Marie Halinsky, Camian Holsey, Lucy Hamilton Johnson, Kelly Lorena Leville, Jasmine Patrice McKee, Dawn Cherie May, Alexis Taylor, Abby Elizabeth Wysocki.
Associate Dean for Undergraduate Programs, Jonathan Clark, will present the undergraduate candidates for the degrees in the Scheller College of Business.
Candidates for the Bachelor of Science degree in the Scheller College of Business, please rise and remain standing. Mr. President, I have the honor of presenting to you those candidates for the Bachelor of Science degree who have completed the requirements for this degree.
From the Scheller College of Business, Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, Aaron Patrick Alvarez, Nathan Joseph Anderson, Ronald Charles Andrus, Jr., Alexandra Christina Angelescu, Caitlin Arnold, Aaron Aslam, Austin Gregory Everett, Christopher Morgan Bailey, Peter Bao, Zachary Mark Basrod, Rebecca Adair Beck, Christina Marie Bernhard, Sarah Jane Biggers, Carrie Stallings Blakely, Melissa Rosalie Bradley, Robert Brooks IV, Parrish Woodbury Brown, Hannah Elizabeth Burke, Jacqueline Ebert Burleson, Aaron Louis Bussey, Cosmon Alexander Bulos, Thomas Colby Campbell, Kelsey Chadwick, Amanda Chi-Ching Chang, William Warren Chanterbury II, Karishma Chawla, Mohammed Walid Shwaiki, Allison Marie Clark, Hunter Williams Clark, Morgan Edward Clayton. Grace Rimmer Clifford. Gregory David Collins. Melanie Kathleen Coles. Kaylee Marie Colson. Matthew Robert Connors. Lila Kate Cooley. Reuben Eugene Coopwood. Rachel Margaret Copeland. Brendan Hackett Corcoran. Kayla Amber Cox. Meredith Elise Crawley. Katina Cecile Crittenton. Taylor Wade Crowder. R. Evan Cuellar. Andrew Taylor Curry. Lily Catherine Davis. Alexandra Jade Malloy. Ronak Umesh Desai. Gautami Dikala. Mai Huang Din. Haley Catherine Downs. Amanda Lauren Dunn. Michael Tyler Eason. Robert Graham Elder. Uriah Joseph Jarrett Ellis. Quinn Marie Evans. Shelley Ann Evans. Andrew Justice Faber. David Solomon Fine. Chandler Christian Ferguson. Kami Evelyn Finkel. Nicholas Pierre Flint. Alex Aaron Freed. Callie Elizabeth Gainey. Nicholas Thomas Galli. Julie Christine Ganter. Evan Lee Garland. Julian Russell Garuba. Scott James Geary. Hannah Joy Gebrselassie. Emily Francis Getru. Andrew Robert Gifford. Margaret Lyndon Ginn. Zachary David Glasgow. Jonathan Edward Grant. Audrey Clarice Grichting. Grant Mason Grimes. Gary Donald Guyton Jr. Samantha Kathleen Haybaker. Daniel Allen Hamblin. Jung Han. Jacob Dorsey Hannon. Eliza Rose Hansen. Jessica Leigh Harris. Matthew Lauren Hastings. Catherine Elizabeth Hawkins. Jeffrey Glenn Higgins Jr. David Ho. Xian Huang Huang. Farina Hormuz Irani. Matthew Tomakatsu Jacobson. Patrice LaShawn James. Yuri Zhang. Kelly Lauren Jensen. Shaista Nadir Jiwani. Minku Kang. Shibani Dinesh Kansara. Grayson Kennedy Karaginas. Bailey Francis Kelly. John Michael Kenny Jr. Abhijan Nath Khosla. Hyunmin Kim. Jeong Hwan Kim. Matthew Christopher Kinney. Ivona Kolak. Vivian Carolina Lacayo. Laura Ann Landry. David James Langley, Christina Inez Lara, Haley Kathleen Laszlo, Alexander Russell Latham, Taylor Kenneth LeBlanc, Jonathan Lee, Julie Dami Lee, Jordan Nelson Lockwood, Ryan Gregory Major, Francesca Eve Malenki, Amulya Mandava, Spencer Elliott Marion, Preston Bradley Mayo, Abigail Elizabeth McCallum, Grace Camille McGarity, Julianne Erin McKee, Michael Scott McLeod, Shannon Lynn Mell, Sean Patrick Mapartian, Lydia Garland Mertz, Catherine Blake Miller, Jonathan Reese Minor, Samuel O'Loughlin Morgan, Megan Elizabeth DeFranks Morrow, Ross Stephen Kress Muhlenberg, Nalki Regina Narte, Neil Natarajan, Joshua Leonard Nesbitt, Jacob Seymour Newman, Lauren Elizabeth Niemann, Rebecca Ann Norton, Jake Patrick O'Brien, Julia Elizabeth Odom, Samantha Elizabeth Olson, Esther Park, Robert Hayes Parker, Angela Melanie Patat, Shana Patel, Alexander J. Paulson, Jennifer Bailey Percy, Parker Leanne Plunkett, Jared Michael Pollock, Edward Andrew Prash, Kristen Audrey Presswood, Jacob Dylan Quick, Matthew Franklin Range, Alexander David Rawdon, James Henderson Ray III, Morgan Elizabeth Recabod, Kevin Daniel Recinos, Julia Elizabeth Richardson, Erica Simriel Robinson, Stephen Mark Rogie Jr., Coy Alexander Roseberry, Alicia Joy Rudnick, Shweta Sani, Darren Michael Sanders, Joanna Hayes Sanford, Michael Harrison Savransky, Natalie Nicole Scarpello, Samantha May Searles, Mark Allen Sinnott, Michael Robert Severin II, Chelsea Heiji Shin, Sabil Siddiqui, Justin Robert Snyder, Mark Joseph Solarski, Elizabeth Soruka, Katrina Lynn Spearman, Lauren Melissa Spencer, Lauren Clark Spikes, Sandhya R. Srivatsan, Philip Scott Staley, Lindsay Adele Stanford, Michelle Christine Steves, Bianca Ashley Stewart, Catherine Rachel Stoker, Michael Loring Sis, Anna Borasa, Pamela Dong Teslik, Michael Tao, Amelia Diane Thomas, Carolyn Gay Thompson, Amanda Kathleen Torrey, William David Turner, Sarah K. Veal, Samantha Jo Vodopia, Brooke Walker, John Manning Walker, Kevin Michael Wallace, Lindsay Elizabeth Walton, Yanfang Wang, Samuel Taylor Wells, Isaac Royal White, Sierra Linda Williams, Taylor Prescott Williams, James Nunnally Williamson, Jun Mo Young, David Franklin Yates, Daimeng Yin, Xin Yin, Daisy Qian Yu, Bachelor of Science in Management, Alexander Boyd Andrews V, Terrence Jarvis Barnes, Sean Rashad Green, Tayana Dominique Nicole Marshall, Denzel Lorenzo McCoy, Justin William Moore, Jason Clifford Morris, Charles Wesley Perkins III, Seth Austin Reeves, Anthony Jeremiah Williams, Philip Worthman,
Dean Paul Goldbart, who some claim have the nicest academic gown, will present the undergraduate candidates for the degrees of the College of Sciences.
Thank you, Provost Brass. Candidates for the Bachelor of Science degree in the College of Sciences, home to bold explorers creating new knowledge to help drive forward the technology, computing, and medicine of tomorrow, but also simply to lift the human spirit to new heights, please rise and remain standing. Mr. President, I have the honor of presenting to you those candidates for the Bachelor of Science degree who have completed the requirements for this degree.
From the College of Sciences, Bachelor of Science in Biochemistry, Bian Hussein Ahmad. Kelly Danielle Allen. David Anderson Brumley. Matthew Clayton Bunker. Tamara Elise Butterworth. Lucia Chen. Shanwei Lee Chen. Wayne Chen. Connor David Crowley. Rihanna Bahare Daftarian. Elizabeth Lauren Deaver. David Han. Hyun Ho. Rachel Alicia Hutto. Kifayat Ajoke Kareem. Patrick Winfield Leffler. Bilal Abdur Rahman Manzoor. Miranda Jade McDaniel. Ivan Andres Morales. Zachary Edward Motley. Elaine Wen. Anthony Toshihiro Nishida. Wilson Omasieto. Jennifer Iomo Onyuenye. Christine Moran Park. Mina Park. Corley Rochelle Price, also receiving a Bachelor of Science in Applied Languages and Intercultural Studies. J. Jonathan Rad. Hannah Michael Skibble. Alan Thomas Tao. Aaron Brooke Thomas. Harith Al-Sharif. Junping Xu. The Bachelor of Science in Applied Physics. Shivam Jakrishma Patel. Bachelor of Science in Physics. John Patrick Addison. Gabriela Elan Alvarez. Regis Taylor Crowder. Zachary Michael Dromsky. Russell A. Flatman. John Morris Gray, also receiving a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry. Stephen Kendrick Green. Martin Thomas Halachek. Zach Bruce Hall II. Jeffrey Michael Henniger. Joshua Franklin Holeman. Jared Alexander Huggins. Ilya Larkin. Jamie L. McMillan. John Allen Parker. Solomon Lee Salas. Matthew Allen Steinberg. Michael Justin Valdez. Bachelor of Science in Chemistry, Gregory Aldahondo. Hillary Claire Beck. Carl Austin Burkhart. Kirsten Noel Shalhoub. Hai Young Choi. Jessica Marie Curtis. Kabir Singh Dada. Ashley Kate Martin. Ashley Nicole Guadalupe Moore. Daniel Morales Salazar. Kaylin Manning Priger. Anthony Jose Rojas. Brittany Aisha Tatum.
Well, Mr. President, should we do engineering? Maybe. Dean Gary May will present the undergraduate candidates for the degrees in the College of Engineering.
Candidates for the Bachelor of Science degree in the largest, most diverse, most excellent College of Engineering in the country, please rise and remain standing. Mr. President, I have the distinct honor of presenting to you those candidates for the Bachelor of Science degree who have completed the requirements for this degree and are ready to go out and do that.
From the College of Engineering, Bachelor of Science in Computer Engineering, Gabriel Casey Aoyang. Thomas E. Beluccio. Shubhanu Bhargava. Colin Paul Bookman. Mason Y. Chiang. Joshua Ryan Clinton. Christian Antonio Colon. Jordan Thomas Kennard. Thomas Matthew Cooper. Cody Allen Coulomb. Stephen Alexander D'Angelo. Abhishek Darakanand. Arthur Benjamin Ganger. David Gaspard. B.G. Joseph Henry Grubel. Sahil Gupta. Patrick Caleb Harp. Amelia Diane Henderson. Tanvir Itija Iqbal. Ahmed Hasham Ismail. Sartak Jaiswal. Sachit Shyam Kedal. Michael Evan Kirsch. Rohit Kandedi. Avnish Kumar. Alan Hinwing Lai. Jay Cheng Lee. Daniel Allen Lepkofer. Yao Lu. Matthew Edward McGraw. Gregory John Mysick II. Max Herman Mujica. Cal Wen. Danelle Sheldon O'Connor. Isvan Andres Papcheng. Hai Tan Pham. Caleb Curtis Purcell. Vikash Ramkumar. Dustin Stewart Reese. Christopher Brandon Rossi. John Henry Shaberg. John Tetsuo Shinsato. Youngqing Ti. Guillermo Alfredo Torriano III. Austin Bradley Ward. Jia Qi Shui. Bachelor of Science in Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering, Maria Andrea Asabe. Louisa Miriam Aluash. Amelia Grace Amalfitano. Ube Kalyanpur Baliga. William King Barron. Margaret Curran Bowman. Michael Martin Berlinger. Catherine Rose Black. Catherine Rose Blad. Wesley Alvin Blankenship. Prathika Boga. Amy Marine Bonecutter. Margaret Ann Burcham. Matthew Small Calicott. William Charles Cangelosi Jr. Sean Corey Capps. Virginia Ann Carter. Ziwei Cheng. Josh Chen Chu. Cameron Chase Creech. Joseph McCuddy Culligan. Sterling Wenji Dang. Michael Edward Dakota. Natasha Girish Deshpande. David Ding. Ashley Nicole Dodd. Reed Charles Irwin. Bryce Wilfred Fodoop. William Patrick Gleason. Akash Kapil Gulati. John Christopher Hashman. Jacob Lamar Hicks. Christopher Joseph Hilgert. Tawana Brittany Hines. Joseph David Houle. Mengni Huang. Mary Catherine Huff. Aminul Islam. Yunwan Edward Jiang. Murat John Johnson. Kayla Rochelle Jolly. Michael Wesley Jones. Yoonjin Jung. Joseph Emil Kazez. Michael Patrick Kenna. Andrew Jung Kim. Seungwon Kim. Tai Rin Kim. Ritesh Kumar. David Andreas Leber. Eric Lee. Michelle Lefevre. Mungjae Liao. Sunduni Lianya Gamoge. Nurashikin Lakman. Abrawa Hali Mandefero. Peter Francis Mannion. David Benjamin McMichael. Zachary Derek Melroy. Cassandra Kusik Merrigan. Shamir Ali Mirza. Ryan Jason Ng. Paul Shiamira Ngasa. Hung Wang Wen. Luis Adrian Nunez. Ominka Richard Ori. Grace Morgan Padgett. Michael Stephen Parek. Shaylee Patel. Xiaoming Chi. Patrick Drew Quinn. Zachary James Randall. Brianna Lynn Richardson. Caitlin Nicole Roberts. Wesley Adam Roberts. Daniel Anthony Rodriguez. Allison Robin Rogers. Robert Webster Sams. Ivan Alexander Santalan. Christopher Robert Savio. Trey Adam Schneider. Chancellor Stuart Schaefer. Justin Thomas Smith. Joseph Olutime Shuunbe. Samuel Ray Strawbridge. Sriram Suresh. Carrie Lynn Susina. Charles J. Tapley. Rusty Ann Terry. Allison Renee Thomas. Jeffrey Evan Thomas. Michael Andrew Tweedy. Robert Thurman Van Dyke. Kokan Huang Vu. Tung Din Vu. Tyler Mark Walker. Brian John Walsh. Matthew Taylor Weems. Kevin J. Wiley. Sean Michael Wood. Shun Chi. Todd Zhen. Dongdong Zhang. Jianqing Zhu. Bachelor of Science in Nuclear and Radiological Engineering, Patrick Arthur Barron. Thomas Scott Beach III. Jeffrey Scott Bipps. Nicholas Edgar Brackett. Max B. Carlson. David Evan Carroll. Elton Yiying Chen. Andrew James Conant. Katie MacArthur Cook. Molly Claire Cook. Aaron Neil DiPiano. Alexander Harrison Ng. Lauren Rose Finkley. Wesley Collins Gillis. Andrew Clark Grice. Kyle Patrick Hatch. Nicholas Paul Hobbs. Zulkarnain M. Jamal. Andrew Miles Johnson. Kam-Yu Lee. Joseph Stephen Mangelson. Casey Ray MacArthur. Patrick Joseph McCarthy. Donald Kyle Mitchell. Aaron Matthew Miller. Eamon Abbas Muhidin. Morgan Elizabeth Myers. Daryl Neal Jr. Jennifer Ann Wen. Gregory Roland Peacock. Eric Ryan Pearson. Kevin Domer Reeves Jr. Gage Morgan Rickert. Wesley Thomas Shearer. Angelo Miguel Perano Spinetta. Gregory Arthur Zalkowski. Alexander Thomas Thurkel. Tori Carmela Tickerhoof. Alexander Howell Tilton. James Michael Tolisis. Aaron Gaspar Tumalak. Martin Zavala.
Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering, Jurius Fuad Aduk Akol. Malcolm Darian Allen. Damiolola Apatira. Chelsea Lynn Arnold. Priya Bajaj. Dylan Gorman Baker. Philip McIntosh Bassett. Nicholas Anthony Beneda. Nishka Berry. Brent Collins Bittler. Jessica Taylor Block. Matthew Johnston Bohannon. Adam Oliver Bowen. David M. Berg. Andrew David Bird. Joseph Lyman Carmen. Michael Wah Chen. Thomas Everett Davenport III. Daniel S. Davila. Bradley Walter Davis. Nelson Joel Diaz. Chen-Ming Du. Matthew Lee Ehrenfeld. David Alejandro Estrada. Ali Jordan Farag Todorishi. Charles Loomis Ferguson. Michael Ryan Fields. C. Slade Fulmer. Jason Timothy Green. Hunchan Gu. Mason Andrew Ganyuslu. Zehua Guo. Sarah Natalie Haddad. Peng Hao. Jacob Lawrence Howard. Stephen Poole Howard. Brendan Scott Isham. Evan Nicholas Jariki. Niraj Ramesh Javis. Neil Jean. Julian Bernard Johnson. Charles Dallas Joyman. Morris Layfield Jones III. Raul Juarez. Pravalika Kadavetti. Stephen Richard Kansarak. Mohammed Saad Khan. Christine Mary Coe. Tayub Kim. Robert Allen Kinley. Emily Rose Corby. Rakesh Kumar. Joseph William Coomer. Suji Lee. Stanley Bernard Lewis Jr. Helen Wendy Lee. Wei Ching Lee. Justin Zhang Lin. Gregory Liu. Sinan Liu. Matthew Carter Long. Sibai Lowe. Kevin Gordon Lin. Lance Martinez. Joseph Samuel McGahee. Shivani Mehta. Jordan Christian Minichuk. Pooja Deepak Modi. Christopher Soren Moen. Ernesto Mohena. Christopher Michael Monaco. Sean Michael Moore. Robert John O'Neill. Christopher Matthew Pace. Kishan Elia Patel. Nikhil P. Patel. Rishal Rahendra Patel. Tasmai Himanshu Patel. Andrea Peng. Peter Daniel Perez de Corcho. Michael James Pratt. Matthew Allen Pritchard. Luke Thomas Reichling. Cameron Deshawn Reed. Syed Mansour Razil. Christian Mark Santos. Ariel Ashley Schaefer. Mary Melissa Sherman. Hamez Won Si. Nicole Deanna Sorrells. John Michael Stewart, also receiving Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. Emily Catherine Stickles. Christopher Lee Stubel. James Martin Soothall. Noah An Ta. Marcus Justin Tam. Caitlin Teague. Preston Thomas. Jobayer Uden. Garrett Victor Wade. D. Wang. Mark Anthony Warrior. Olivia Elaine Wasden. Jonathan Michael Weeks. David Charles Wonderly. Fujin Xie. Mohan Yang. Shukan Yang. Jacob Todd Ziegler. Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering, Daniel Alexander Adair. Carlos Gustavo Alas. Caleb Chitura Amaram. Zachary Philip Amos. John Samuel Anderson. Devin James Andrews. Laura Esther Anfinson. Philip Joseph Augustine. David Robert Balfour. Shomu Banerjee. Christopher Lee Barish. Christian Andrew Barr. John Stewart Bartmus. Samuel Garrett Beckworth. Benjamin Benomar. Claire Marie Bergman. Thomas James Bowling. John Edward Boyle. Harrison Adams Bradley. Michael Edward Brown. Stephen Ray Brown. Alexander N. Burke. Joshua Micah Byerly. Jacob Maxwell Bornstein. Lily Elizabeth Burkeen. Joshua Robert Kahn. Gregory Ross Campbell. Stephanie Marie Kamstra. Brandon Ash Carter. Chad Michael Cavender. Uditi Gauri Chandak. Monique Jasmine Chang. Brian Risley Chapin. Christopher David Chapman. Jonathan Leon Christian. Christopher H. Chun. Taylor Wayne Clark. Stanley Donnell Cochran Jr. Andres Danielle Kofrey. Louis Michael Cowan. John Taylor Compton Jr. Jonathan Douglas Cox. Mark Eric DeGaetano. Elizabeth Marie Dyke. Michael Douglas Dillon. Chuan Ding. Thomas Monroe Dixon III. Kevin Paul Driscoll. Vin Huang Duong. Taylor Patrick Early. Ryan Michael Edge. Gregory Thomas Ellison. Darius Farouk Engineer. Anthony Grant Fain. Ahmed Mido Yeser Farai. Andrew Carl Filipowski. Andrew Walker Fitzgerald. Nicholas Patrick Fletcher. Anthony John Flett. Jordan Tucker Florence. Lauren Ashley Fort. Michael John Franze Jr. Andre Ishmael Furlow. Fabrizio Garcia. Taylor Daniel Genoway. Jonathan Goffar. Adam Westley Glenn. Tushar Goel. Alberto Alexander Gonzalez. Cameron Mitchell Grace. Marion Daniel Grady IV. Kevin Berwick Green. Jonathan Ryan Griffin. Michael Austin Gutierrez. Vin Thay Ha. David Gil Hahn. Ravi N. Haskar. Jordan Kyle Halford. Justin Zachary Hamley. Carolyn Brooke Hanley. John Anthony Harbor. Marie Christine Harbor. Matthew Allen Harner. Kevin Robert Harris. Zachary Thomas Havanek. Timothy Aiden Hefner. Michael Elliott Herget. Zachary Michael Houston. Cece Huang. Brian Reynolds Holtz. Henry Huri. Timothy Ebrew. Andre Kevin Indianto. Michael Robert Ippolito. Michael Austin Jasper. Stephen Alexander Jenkins. David Wayne Jolly. Gregory Martin Jones. Joshua David Jones. Stephen Zachary Jones. Cesar Augusto Juarez. Saigobul Kamnan. Rohan Katach. Rachit Karjaral. Paul Calvin Kern. Ryan Joseph Kearns. Christopher Keon Khosravi. Shimin Kim. Hyong Sik Kim. Inkyu Kim. Jeong Hee Kim. Joshua Matthew Kinnamore. Justin Thomas Kinney. Michael James Klein. Chi Kong. Andre Ivov Kosev. Abhishek Quatra. Elizabeth Merrill Lambert. Conrad James Lawson. Alexander Joseph Leas. Brian Daniel Levy. Shijiao Li. Xi Li. Jixing Liang. E.Q. Lim. Zhigo Chuan Liu. Dean Allen Lovering. Andrew Scott Lustig. Simeon Boykov Mayhoff, Evan Anderson Mangan, Jack Amel Mariana III, Andrew Patrick Marinaccio, Joshua Stoy Marlowe, Andrew Philip Martin, Glenn Peter McDaniel, Stuart Gavin McFarlane, Kevin Olivier Miron, Joshua James Mittelman, Jae Yoon Moon, Megan Colleen Morello, Elisa Ray Mueller, Dexter Forrest Myers, Miranda Sue Myers, Andrew Kiwok Na, Melissa Ann Neer, Jordan Khan Nguyen, Long Thun Nguyen, Jillian Nicole Niveliski, Jeremy Ryan O'Neill, Larry Blake Olson, Karthika Punanmali Venakatsubramanian, Laura Ann Page, Matthew David Parek, Lauren Hunter Parisian, Jason Park, Joshua Caleb Partridge, Jesse Langston Pena, Zachary Joseph Pitts, Claire Meziel Powell, Robert Douglas Powell, Mark Andrew Price, Brian Christopher Putnam, Michael Allen Rabin, Shyam Ranganjaran, also receiving Bachelor of Science in Economics, Cody Ming Rasko, Catherine Gilbert Raskowskis, Joel Landon Rivas, Joseph R. Rice, Michael Lawrence Rice, Joseph Jude Renzi, Sean Edward Roberts, Caesar Augustus Roca IV, Tomas Rodriguez, Brendan Eugene Ryan, Kevin Francis Sabato, Mohammed Aliyu Saibu, Matthew Benjamin Sally, Ryan Salmon, Christina Ann Sanciamente, Pamela Diane Sanders, Peter David Santoro, Padmavathi Sarvepalli, Amber Marie Scales, Evan Clay Schnitker, Nicole Kristen Schuster, Catherine Marie Scott, Elizabeth Mary Seaford, Matthew Dean Seston, Michael Auerbach Schaefer, Fahmed Fayek Sharkar, Eric Hyong-Sop Shen, Zachary Michael Selak, Rajithya Parhor Siyasena, Eric Jerome Snyder, Ruoyu Song, Joaquin Song. David Ledoit Spain, Jr. Colin Adam Stieglitz. Rebecca Julia Stonecipher. Tyler Kane Sullins. Scott Matthew Sweat. Lindsberg Kevin Sweetman. Christopher Ward Taylor. Benjamin William Thomas. Coleman Lee Thompson. Nicholas James Thompson. Neil Arvin Thompson. James Eli Tillery. Andrew Michael Tolman. Keller Anton Thomasy. Burju Trivedi. Jesse Edward Turcott. Thon Maitron. Brennan James Turnipseed. Domingo Ernesto Uceda. Shivam Vijay Verma. Zihan Wang. Kyle David West. Kyle Ethan White. Charles Leroy Whitley III. J. Mitchell Whittington. Nicole Weisner. Luis Guillermo Valles Monterrubio. Karthik Jayaraman Venkatraman. Stephen Eric Waller. Joshua Alexander Wilkins. Christian Gandy Williams. Clay Austin Williams. Patrick Charles Wallen. Ronald T. Williams, Jr. Ho Wong. Kei Xiao. Tian Li Young. Ying Zhang. Lauren Taylor Zolondek. Andrew J. Zweig. Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering, Moklasur Raman. Reina Tanazam RT.
Will all of the graduates please rise? Upon the recommendation of the faculty of the Georgia Institute of Technology and by authority of the Board of Regents of the University System of Georgia, I confer upon each of you the bachelor's degree with all the rights, privileges, responsibilities hereunto appertaining. Graduates, to symbolize your achievement, you may now move the tassel on your mortarboard. Congratulations. Please be seated. At this time, I'd like to introduce Lieutenant Colonel Sean Bivens from the Air Force ROTC to recognize those graduates who are commissioned to serve in the U.S. Armed Forces.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Today, I have the privilege of honoring a special group of students in the graduating class of 2014. Will the graduates of the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine Corps ROTC programs please stand and be recognized? Mr. President, in addition to their academic degrees, these students completed a rigorous program focusing on leadership, academics, physical conditioning to become officers in the Armed Forces of the United States. For their outstanding accomplishments and patriotism, I would like for everyone to show their appreciation and give them a huge round of applause. Congratulations.
Georgia Tech are an extraordinary group of high achievers. To welcome the members of this graduating class into the Fellowship of Tech, I'm pleased to introduce Mr. Steve Chaddick, classes of 1974 and 1982, and this year's chairman of the Georgia Tech Alumni Association.
Thank you, President Peterson. It is my honor and great pleasure to congratulate you and welcome each of you to the Georgia Tech Alumni Association. At its core, the Alumni Association's mission is simple: to keep you connected with each other and the Institute, and to advance the Institute through Roll Call, our annual fund. But not all want to stay connected to Tech, at least not right away. My friends and I were all in a hurry to get out. In fact, I was in such a hurry, instead of attending my own commencement, I jumped on a plane to San Francisco to start my first job in Silicon Valley. Like many of you, certain experiences here gave me a love-hate relationship with the Institute. I think it was the fall of 1971 that I studied all morning for my Math 208 final, the last calculus course of 5 before differential equations. Open book. Anything goes. I trudge into the classroom in Skiles, second period, and the instructor, who is a math PhD student named Mike Massey, looks at me and says, "Chaddick, where are you going?" I reply, "To take your final, of course." Well, he replies, "You just missed it." It was first period. And I was about to protest that no, I knew it was scheduled for second period when I saw my classmates staggering out of the room. You probably know the look. Dazed expression, hair blown back, eyebrows all singed off. Massey, who was president of the Graduate Student Senate at the time, invited me to his office to discuss the situation and calls his vice president, Jesus Leon, to reschedule their next period meeting. I want you to hang on to that name, Jesus Leon, for a minute. It's going to come around again. Massey says, "I've got this classroom for another hour. Here's what we're going to do. You're going to the blackboard, and I'm going to give you an oral final, closed book, just you and me." I'll be able to tell if you know your stuff or not. Pretty scary. I did okay, and he gave me an A. It's unlikely I would have done that well on the real final. In fact, I know it because I saw it later. He could have given me an unexcused absence, an incomplete, or even failed me, but instead of giving me the shaft, he let me prove myself and boosted my self-confidence. I tell you, I still have nightmares about that day. My advice is to use those kinds of experiences to stay connected to Tech, not distance yourself from her. Meanwhile, remember Jesus Leon? He was a PhD student in EE, and a year or so later, I found myself in his class, EE 362. We had a chuckle about my earlier experience. Fast forward 6, 7, or maybe even 8 years, I had returned to Atlanta from the West Coast, working at Scientific Atlanta here in town, and found myself competing with my friend Jesus for a management job, which of course he got. A few years later, after I had co-founded a company, Jesus called to place some of the engineers from his company that had just been acquired. I hired him instead. We were then acquired. Jesus moved to Madrid, and I was fortunate to co-found another venture. Another 3 years in the future, at a dinner in Dallas at a big trade show, guess who's there? Jesus. Our CEO, another tech alum and friend of Jesus, and I recruited him on his way back to Spain, and we hired him within weeks. I'll tell you this somewhat rambling story so that you will recognize the value of the tech network now and not wait a decade to get it. Of the two companies I co-founded, only 2 of 9 founders did not have tech degrees, but only 3 of us knew each other while we were here at school. What you'll come to realize is that you will have other tech alumni as bosses, employees, collaborators, co-inventors, and yes, co-founders. Why? Because you will appreciate the values and skills you learned here: work ethic, competence, fearless innovation, and you will seek them in others. So don't wait to absorb this knowledge. Look around now. You'll be surprised how many of these people will become part of your future. Maintain and grow your network. Don't wait. It will matter later in ways you can't anticipate. I mentioned the Alumni Association's role in philanthropy. Did you know that more than 60% of philanthropy at Georgia Tech arises from alumni? You have benefited directly from decades of alumni support. Endowed chairs, professorships, fellowships, and scholarships permeate Tech, enhancing your academic experience, made possible by generous alumni. It can be hard to give back early in your career, maybe more so emotionally than financially. So to get you started, I'm pleased to tell you that a donation of $25 has been made to roll call in each of your names, enabled by anonymous alumni. Keep it up. Make it a habit. I am not going to challenge you to go create great science and technology. Paraphrasing Nick Selby, you're from Georgia Tech. You will do that. I don't have to challenge you to build great companies or invest in your communities. You're from Georgia Tech. You will do that. But I will challenge you to stay connected to Tech. Build your network. Come back to campus. Join a local alumni network. Mentor a student. And contribute to roll call. Because we are from Georgia Tech, and that's what we do. Congratulations and thank you.
In closing, I'd like to express my appreciation to Mike Smith, Michelle Reinhardt, and Joseph Hughes for announcing the graduates' names, and to all of the associates who helped put this program together. At this time, members of the Sympathetic Vibrations will lead us in the alma mater, followed immediately by the faculty recessional. The graduates in the audience are requested to remain standing as the platform party recesses. Then I invite you all to join in the singing of the nation's best-known fight song, The Rambling Wreck. For our newest Georgia Tech graduates, we have a special treat. As you exit the McCamish Pavilion, immediately after the ceremony, the whistle will blow several times in your honor. Thank you for your attendance, congratulations, and Godspeed.
Sons of Tech, arise, behold the banner as it reigns supreme. Forth from on high the white and gold waves in its triumphant gleam. The spirit of the cheering throng resounds with joy, revealing a brother